there is still disparity. The Malays are still not as well off as the non-Malays, but partly it is their own fault, of course, but the disparity has been so reduced that the animosity, the antagonism towards each other is much less. Of course, now some people want to raise other issues, but the new economic policy has been instrumental in reducing the disparities between the different races. And because of that, Malaysia has been a stable country. For 50 years, this country has remained stable despite the fact that we are a multi-ethnic, multiracial country which have different languages, different culture, different religion. But Malaysia has remained stable. And Malaysians, whether they be Chinese or Indians or Malays, feel that they are Malaysians. They are not Indians, they are not Chinese, they are Malaysians. And abroad, they will identify themselves as Malaysians. This is their national identity, that they are Malaysians. But what about the sharing of power? We talked just now about the economic disparity. What about power sharing? Well, we have formulated a way of distributing power so that everyone has a role to play. But there is a need for balance. The balance must come because there is economic disparity. Until economic disparity is eliminated or very much reduced, the sharing of power must give some advantage to the less well-off group. In politics, it is very common, for example, to give weightage to put people in the rural areas against the people in the urban areas. This is not just done in Malaysia, it's done in most countries. Urban people are usually much more influential. That is why during the British time, the rural areas were neglected, the urban areas were given proper attention. But in order to prevent the country from being lopsided in terms of its development, we have to give more weightage, more political power to the rural areas against the urban areas. That way we share political power. But all races must be represented in the government. We have been able to do that, not perfectly, not to the satisfaction of everyone, but to the satisfaction of the majority. Why do I say this? I say this because for years we have seen people returning the same government which has the same policy at every election. Every 5 years we have elections, and the people have a right to reject the government if they feel that the government is not carrying out a good policy. But we have seen the people repeatedly electing the same government and giving it a 2/3 majority at almost all the elections, except for 1969 and 2008. The people have backed the same party with the same policy, which of course imply that they are not against the kind of political sharing, power sharing that is practiced in Malaysia. In 2008, unfortunately, some other factors have moved in, And the people became disillusioned with the government party, and they refused to give full backing to the government party. That is what we are seeing today. But that is not because of the policy. The policy is still accepted. The policy of balancing the economic well-being of the different races is accepted. The policy of power sharing between the different races is accepted. But other factors have moved in and caused the people to become disillusioned with the government, and as a result, they have practically voted out the government, giving it only a small majority at the federal level and causing the government party to lose in 5 states and 1 federal territory. So we can see that there is no very rigid definition of national identity. It cannot be just one race with one culture, one religion before the national identity can be accepted. We have in Malaysia people of different races, different religion, different culture, but they still consider themselves as Malaysian, and this is their national identity. We perhaps can hope that in the future there will be greater integration. But even if there is no integration now, it is still possible to consider the peoples of Malaysia as having one national identity. Other countries, of course, have less difficulty because they are single ethnic, but we are multi-ethnic. In the case of power sharing, the power sharing goes along with the sharing in the economic field. On the one hand, perhaps one group has seemingly more power politically, but on the other hand, we have the other group more powerful in the economic field. So it is largely evenly distributed in Malaysia. And because of that, Malaysia has remained stable until 2008. So I would like to say that we should accept things as they are. That the Malaysian national identity is not the same as the national identity of single ethnic nations. And that power sharing in Malaysia involves race as well, and not just economic groups or whatever.